Okay. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the patch 9.7 patch note rundown. As usual, I do these once every 2 weeks. A lot of times I talk about what I think about the state of the game before the patch note rundown, but this time I think I'd rather just delve in because I think the meta has been kind of solidified for a little bit, and outside of really deep diving into individual lanes, I don't have really much to talk about. So I want to see kind of what they change instead before I make any comments about the overall meta. So let's just get into it. Hey y'all, some familiar phrases this patch to continue tuning on bullies like Kale, Silas, and Urgot. We've also got some quality life changes, things like Predator, Immolate items, and the practice tool, as well as some updates to Vision Row of Domination runes. We're looking to relax on the open seas. Butcher's Bridge is back for your ARAM leisure, so get ready to set sail, ban Ziggs, and put on your Ghost Walkers. Okay, that's irrelevant for me. Cool, let's keep going. Kale. Alright, so let's talk about Kale a little bit. I think Kale is a champion that requires teamwork to shut down. Over the patches, her win rate has gone up. But aside from her win rate, the biggest thing is that people have learned how to just cheat her the Saiyan lane. Never has there been before a champion where you can kind of lose gracefully. If you're even CS, you're winning, and if you're a little bit below even CS, you still may be winning. Like that's how it is with Kill, and so especially given the nature that I think at the very top level, Kill is not as good of a champion. You need to really set up a situation where you can't get 1v2'd by the enemy jungle under tower. You need to set up like a halfway decent matchup, and you need to set up a way for you to pass through the mid game to hit level 11. All these three factors are very difficult in competitive play. However, in solo queue, which is the game that most people play, you tend to make a lot more mistakes, and the coordination tends to not be there. So Kale tends to take off a lot quicker. So a good example of, like, let's say a matchup that could really crush Kale. You take a lane counter pick into Kale. I don't know, something like, I think Jace or Ryze does fairly well. Something with CC or poke in the lane, and then you combine it with an Elise, and then you tower dive the top lane at Kale from levels like 6 to 12 or 4 to 12. And there's not much Kale can do, and they always lose a 2v2 pretty much. So it's like situations like that are stuff that is fairly rare. Count the number of times the enemy jungler has actually looped behind your tower and tower dove you on any champion, and that's kind of what needs to happen when you're playing picks like Kale and even picks like Kassadin, which is why those two picks tend to do fairly well in solo queue, because the coordination needed to stop their early game, which is their big weakness, doesn't really exist as much. And this goes all the way up to like very high elos, like challenger level elo players have a tough time punishing Kassadin, to be honest, like quite a bit, which is why he's a pretty popular pick right now, especially with the onslaught of Silas. Anyways, let's keep talking about Kale. Let's see what they've done. We're following up with more adjustments to Kale to make her late game spec more reliant on doing well and getting items rather than coasting off raw damage from levels. Okay, I like that. So they lower her health regen and armor growth. That's fine. Increase her mana on Radiant Blast. Decrease her celestial healing movement speed. Decrease the mana cost. Okay, so she's maybe a little bit better at support, but not really. And Spellfire Spellblade now does 8 to 16% damage and scales off AP instead of before. Sure. Like, I think that it is nice to see this kind of situation. I think it's kind of funny that they pushed her away from being an AP champion by making her default skill off AD, and then now they're pushing her ratios toward AP through E again, which seems really counterintuitive. Maybe they're looking for like a Gunblade Nashers type of build. Not really sure what they're looking for, but seems kind of strange in terms of that nerf. They just wanted to nerf her, and I think that she does deserve some sort of nerfs at the moment. I think she's a little bit too powerful. I don't think this really solves too much. Maybe this makes it a little bit tougher for her to be able to lane, which is what they're like lane individually without jungle pressure. So her counters are more distinct. I think that that's fair. I don't think these will do that much, to be honest. It'll be okay, but like they're just looking to shave off a little bit. Like if this makes it so the average Kale needs another 2 to 3 minutes to become as powerful, then that's 2 to 3 minutes that they didn't have before, and maybe that's enough from Riot's perspective. So maybe I think these are okay, and we'll see if it makes it good enough. Anyways, let's keep going. Urgot. This champ's broken. So they buffed him a lot. I played a lot of Urgot the first day he came out. And like I was just trying not to say the champion was really good. And then like it was super obvious after a couple days that this champion was insane. He's starting to see a lot of jungle presence right now because he's just disgusting, especially with passive damage. So what are they gonna do? They made it so they toned back his passive by 2%. Okay, that's good. The cooldown at 13 is still 2.5 seconds, which is really short. Disdain now has a 16 to 14 second cooldown with much higher mana cost, and the damage on his ulti decreased. He's still gonna be a good pick. Straight up, I don't think they did enough here. I would not have been surprised to see a cooldown decrease on his passive legs later, but maybe they're looking to keep that fantasy alive for Urgot players. I do, however, think that he's still going to be very powerful, and that these changes are not nearly enough to be good. The biggest thing is that the idea around the new Urgot changes was that you're going to force him more into an AD build, for him to be less tanky, but maybe do more damage as a trade-off, and he'll have some sort of a workaround because he's not as a tanky juggernaut. Turns out that you could build him the exact same item build as before and still be a tanky juggernaut, so they didn't really achieve anything, and potentially the value of Death Stance is now high enough to where you can slot that in as well. But nothing really changed with his item build. Maybe GA got better as a third item, which is probably not ideal, not what Riot wants, and Cleaver is still his best item, so I really think that Riot missed the mark on their guy, and if they want to make him a squishier champion, maybe not super squishy, but like squishier than before, they're going to need to hit something more. And I think that, yeah, Urgot's still going to be really good after this. Azir. Okay, so they buffed Azir's attack speed. They gave him like an extra dagger or two worth. Pretty good. Even with 3.4's attack speed buff, Azir still has room to grow without becoming a pro play nightmare, probably. They buffed his health regen growth, which is nice. And they buffed his Q damage by 10. Honestly, I don't think Azir needs too much more. So Azir, in my opinion, should be a counter pick in metas where there's a lot of tanks. Like the more tanks that exist, the better Azir is, because Azir is one of those really high consistent damage threats from long range, like a pokey consistent damage threat. He doesn't really do like burst oriented damage, even though sometimes he can if he has a lot of items or level leads. But I don't think he's super well suited for a meta where there's a ton of bruisers like kind of throwing themselves at each other. But in situations where, you know, Scion's been meta, or like mid Galio, mid Scion's been meta, or Cho'Gath is meta, or I'm seeing Mundo and Cho'Gath down here, Garen, you know, Azir becomes a better champion just by the nature of the meta shifting. And so I don't think he needs too much more. They could probably stop right here and see, because if more tanks do come back, Azir naturally becomes better as a side effect. But let's keep going down. So Q damage lower on Cho'Gath. The first thing I think of is this is a great AP Cho'Gath buff. So for people who don't know, this is gonna sound stupid. His Q is a 1-to-1 ratio, 300 damage, 40 to 60% slow. I think it's 60% slow. So this is a great AP Cho'Gath buff if you do play that champion. But I think this is a nice buff. It's certainly not terrible. I think one of the big problems with Cho'Gath, and let me see if I can pull it up for you guys. And this is something, is that he is, in my opinion, a very big indicator of an old school type of champion. And what I mean by that is he's one of the very few, think of all the champions in the game. Not even recent champions, last 4 years of champions. What is the one thing that is consistent amongst all the champions that exist? For the most part, champions scale, especially solo lane champions scale with levels. It's not about the 3-hit passives, it's not about the mobility, it's levels result into CDR decreases. And so that's why, and base damage increases. So if you look at Cho'Gath here, and let me pull it up for you guys. I feel like Cho'Gath's a really archaic champion, and I felt this way ever since playing him. So his Q is a great example of something that doesn't exist in the game outside of this, or it's like exists in very few champions. He has zero scaling on his Q through levels, and no mana scaling either. It is a flat amount at a flat cooldown. It's only buffs itself by like 50 damage a level, 55. Wait, don't get me wrong. This ability is fairly strong in my opinion. 60% slow, like cooldown, mana cost is pretty cheap. The new cooldown is pretty great, right? But it seems really strange to me that like I don't want to invest levels into this, you know? And 300 base is insane. Like it's super good for an AoE ability. It just feels that like when I think of Cho'Gath, I think of him being somewhat like old school. And I don't necessarily know if this is a good or bad thing. I do think that like he's tough to adjust because of this. The silence goes up by 0.1 seconds, and there's no there's a cooldown decrease, so usually people max this. And then E, there's a cooldown decrease, and luckily they recently changed his E to have like an active portion, or it is an active portion rather than a consistently passive portion that tends to scale not only with tends to scale with cooldowns per levels. But yeah, a lot of times when you're playing Cho'Gath, the tank version, you're not really putting many points in the rupture because you're not getting much additional value off of it. Maybe that's okay. Maybe that's not. I'm not sure. This champ is just a really interesting thing for me because this Q and his old E used to be very different than how Riot makes their champions or has made their champions in the last couple of years. I don't know if this will matter too much. I don't think Cho'Gath's bad right now. Let me throw this out there. I don't think Cho'Gath is a bad champion at the moment. I think this really is more of a buff to AP Cho'Gath than anything else. There's only one person I know who plays AP Cho'Gath in an A, so he's probably pretty happy about this. But this doesn't really buff tank Cho that much. It doesn't really help you a super amount unless you're putting points into it. And so it's really only it's relevant when you're in the siege position as Cho'Gath and you're throwing out Qs to zone. But it's not anything super big. And to be honest, like it's a simple change, right? So it's nice for a relatively under a weaker top laner, I guess. But let's keep going. I unseen top laner. I don't even know if he's that weak. I think alongside Sion, Cho'Gath and Sion have been the two best tank top laners for a long time. Sion usually being incredibly powerful by himself. Dr. Mundo, Q damage increased, E damage increased. Holy shit, they really want Mundo to be played. Wow, 30% current health. 40 AD at initial cast. Maximum bonus AD is 60. They really want this champion to be played. So the first thing I think of when I see all these buffs is not anything particularly to do with the solo lane. So he might still be okay in the solo lanes, but in my opinion, he might be really dangerous in the jungle. So people may not actually remember it, but Mundo had the I think someone parsed Mundo's clear speed as the highest in the game, if I remember correctly. Like a year ago, Dr. Mundo used to have the fastest clear in the game. And certainly when I look at his new numbers, I feel like Mundo's clear is definitely disgusting, especially at the moment. So Mundo could be a fairly good jungler. Yeah, he's definitely got like a top 3 clear for sure. Maybe he gets beat by Olaf, maybe he gets beat by Nidalee, but for the most part, I remember Mundo having like one of if not the best clear in the game. Now don't get me wrong, his clear puts him relatively low, so it's not like a safe clear, but even you could make it safer and him still be pretty good. But that was before the Scuttle meta, and he doesn't have a way to stun Scuttle, so it could be a little bit weird. But I would say look out for this guy, especially in your jungle games. You're giving him a lot of power in early skirmishes. He's getting base default 10 AD when he presses E. That's great for clearing, great for skirmishing, and he gets more on his infected cleaver, 5% at 1 as well. That's crazy. That's so good. He's gonna be a monster, and he's already kind of positioned to go into double AP comps if like Cho'Gath comes back. Dr. Mundo is a champion that you pick to punish AP stacking champions. So let's say there's a tank top lane, an AP tank top lane, and like a jungle Eve or jungle Nidalee. Like Mundo is the pick you want to pick in this position because like you can stack a shitload of MR and just run train and you're unkillable. And so I think of Mundo as a champion you pick when they pick top side AP heavy, double AP comps, stuff like that. Mundo is your man to go to. And if that does end up happening, like maybe he's a good top laner too. Garen, W passive stats increase, cooldown decrease, duration decrease late. First line, increasing Garen scaling with last hits. Okay. Second line, giving Garen more opportunities to use current initial window to tenacity increase damage. Okay. Third line, making sure he doesn't go nuts by keeping the uptime roughly similar. Okay. So he gets up to 50 resist. Oh my god. Okay. His cooldown goes down. Whoa. By quite a bit. I don't think you're leveling to last though. Yeah, Wrist is probably pretty happy about this. This seems pretty nice. He is actually a ball of stats. Like, no lie anymore. Wow. I think you have to be... I'm curious if W becomes a good... I guess he wouldn't max his second regardless. I think it's an interesting buff. I like it. I don't think Garen's dominating my games. I think a lot of Garen players, I feel bad for them because they have to, like, if they have to whip out like really unconventional builds. Like you look at Risk's item build in Twitch Rivals against Renekton, and you're like, okay, well he bought boots, cloth armor, turned it into Raptor cloak, went Bomby, Cinder, Ninja Tabby, and have 2 Rejuve beats or something like that. And you're just like, yes. Any other champion in the game probably could do other builds, but with Garen you get a little creative because you have to. Like the limitations of your champion are so I guess big. So I don't mind them having more openings to do like, you know, skillful stuff with Garen, and it doesn't look like he's gonna go crazy. Certainly I don't find a situation where I'm probably gonna complain about Garen more than I complain about any of the other top players. This W has a 60% uptime with 45% CDR. That's a pretty good thing to figure out. I'm not too worried, honestly. If W Max Garen second becomes a problem, and he's getting at least 20% from Cleaver, right? So if it is a problem where he has like way too much uptime with it, we'll see. But I think if you're worried about 40-minute Garen, well then that's the first time in my life I've ever heard about that. And maybe that's something that you should slightly be worried about. Maybe you can't just mindlessly kite Garen and ignore him as a champion past 25 minutes, you know? And that's not a bad thing. Okay, Leona. E cooldown decreased. I always like Leona. I really do. I think Leona is... What the fuck? They buffed it by 3 seconds? Wait, that's so big. Wait, I thought that was like a second scaling. Because when you look at this, you're like, okay, it goes like 13 to 12, 12 to 10.5. Holy moly. I love Leona. Okay, let me get back to that. I think having an initiating dangerous support is a good thing. It's my problem is a lot of these. Before it used to be that like you go in, you'd blow, you chunk them, and you go out, and then you go in back again. Because you couldn't take too much sustained damage where you're going in as initiator if you're playing Alistar or Leona. Especially because Leona is like, you know, armor MR wears off after like 3 to 6 seconds, right? The thing about now is like with the introduction of Aftershock, like you're pretty much unkillable in that period of time, and so you have to find openings to poke like as they run away or like in between the cooldowns of it. I don't think this will make Leona too oppressive. I will say though, Leona and Alistar are getting buffs, interesting buffs before Aftershock gets nerfed. This is a really big buff, like holy shit level big buff. 6 seconds on E with any sort of CDR range, you're gonna get at least 2 if not 3 applications. It used to be on the initial go with Leona, it was hard to re-engage the fight. So she was a initial setup, but that was it. Now you might be able to get 2 or maybe even 3 rotations of E. That's pretty scary. Lissandra. We're hitting Lissandra really clear so you can't consistently outshove her opponents. I like it. She's broken. They nerfed her by 4 seconds level 1. Holy shit. I'm gonna she's gonna get dumped on by poke champions now. Full second off level 5. She's probably still going to be a good champ. If we're going to be completely honest, she's probably still going to be decent. It just means at level 1, you have a lot more room to be able to punish her. 10 seconds is no joke. And if she misses that, the biggest problem when I land against Lissandra is it's hard for me to get trades in between her Ice Shard cooldown. Now with this nerf, I can finally find openings. Like if she misses something, I have like a 4 more seconds to be able to walk up and pressure off a wave. A wave or like a creep even. So I think as long as you're giving me more openings, like I really like that. I don't know if it need to be nerfed to 10 seconds, but you know what? I'll take it for how dominant Lissandra's been for like 8-9 months. Could be overkill, but I'll take it for now. Morgana, health regen, growth decrease, W ratio decrease. Looking good and feeling fine, but maybe a little too fine, especially in mid. I haven't seen any Morgana. I think that Morgana suffers from the fact that she's really boring to play mid lane, and so that's why I never see any of her. So maybe she was really strong, and I just don't know. Rai had their stacks to back it up, and they nerfed her by decent amount, 0.1 or health regen, and they forced you to actually use her passive to regain health. That's fine. Let's keep going. Pike. No AD enjoys playing with Pike. I think generally speaking, he just seems to be an inferior Thresh in all states. But even in a carry-oriented state, I feel like Thresh does, outside of the reset potential and the snowball of getting 300 extra gold, I find that Pike is really hard to play. So I like it. I like that they're giving him slightly more stun and 2 seconds cooldown off his Q early. It's not huge buffs, but they're really nice. Rumble. We're giving Rumble some love so he can compete better against other top laners. Wow, they give him 10% flat move speed at 1? They lowered his cooldown? Holy shit. Alright, I'm gonna be honest with you guys. Yeah, Rumble may need help top lane. You know what? He's broken mid lane. Like, straight up. I think it's only a problem because only 2 people play Rumble mid. Like, actually, 2 or 3 people. But he gets, essentially, he's unbeatable mid lane. Against a lot of matchups. So I think it might help his top lane performance. But I'm more worried about playing against Rumble mid lane. Because that's the one that I always see problems with. And the one thing way to beat Rumble is to constantly gank him, right? But he gets 10% more movement speed early, so he's able to dodge ganks better, even from the mid lane position. Yeah, I think he's gonna be really strong. He's already really strong mid lane, but only Rumble mains play a mid. And at top lane, I feel like he's probably going to be pretty good. The extra move speed does help a lot. I don't know if he's going to be broken. I don't know the exact state of top lane right now. It may be really hard to play certain Rumble into certain champions. So I don't know how he is there. But mid lane for sure. This would be really, really good. Silas, health regen holy shit. Okay, health regen decrease, W damage decrease, equal down increase early. Yeah. So let me just start off by saying at the very beginning of the game, there's no reason why I feel like with Silas I should be able to E and automatically win every trade at level 1. Because his level 1 E is 2 different abilities and procs 2 different on hits at such a low cooldown and mana cost. So I don't mind an E nerf. 6 seconds on level 1 E, that's a pretty big nerf. You know, that's a pretty gigantic nerf. This is gonna want to incentivize people to put a lot of points into E, something which they haven't been doing because they've been prioritizing more damage, Q and W. They lowered the W damage again. So they nerfed the healing last time, and now they nerfed the damage by 30 at max, 10 to 30, and more below that, and they nerfed his health regen. Yeah, this is pretty big. I think even with all this being said, Silas just changes identities. So the Q max build with Silas is still going to be the most effective, The problem is now he's no longer able to be the assassin oriented Silas that, in my opinion, I would want to play him as. Now he can only play the very safe long range poke game with Q, and to be honest, I kind of feel bad about that. I don't necessarily think, like, even stylistically speaking, I feel like Silas should be an all in oriented champion. However, I feel like that's not going to be the case after this nerf. Yeah, that's all I have to say about Silas. I think that he did deserve nerfs for sure, no doubt about it. I am sad though because I feel like his playstyle is gonna literally just be a poke champion. Cinderhulk. We're helping tank junglers feel more meaningful power spikes upon completing Cinderhulk and being closer to other jungle items in clear. Oh, right, because everyone used to skip Cinderhulk and go back. Like, they used to go Trinity Cinderhulk a lot. They buffed it by 100% bonus magic damage. They clears back. Wow, that's really good. That's really nice. Dark Seal. Thank God. Holy shit. Thank the Lord. I can't believe this item has been in the game so long. This Dark Seal Corrupting Potion is warping solo lane meta right now because every champion that can buy this combination will buy Corrupting Potion, double Dark Seal every game. If you don't know what to buy on your AP oriented champion, you should buy that every single game because it is at worst 80% as effective as Doran's, and at best way more effective if you're taking a lot of poke or you're just not playing as well as you'd want. So this is a stupidly good, and I'm glad they're nerfing it in one way, shape, or form. I'm surprised that they didn't nerf it to where it was a unique passive and you can only buy one. Instead, they nerfed the sellback value and lowered the AP cost. I do think, however, that this is not a bad way to go about it. I think the stat efficiency is something that they need to look at, not just the sellback, but the AP. The way I see Dark Seal is because there's a stacking component. You should want to buy it in situations where you can potentially get a couple of stacks. So, like, for instance, when I play Lux, I would buy Dark Seal because she's a poke-oriented champion and she's very safe. And I think I can get more, like, a decent amount, a couple stacks, up to maintain probably around 4 to 8 stacks the entire game, which should be good stat efficiency, so I don't feel bad buying it. But to buy double Dark Seal on every single champion in the game, regardless, is awful. And I don't think this is a bad way to get around it. I think I like it. Not a big deal. No one's going to buy more than 2 Dark Seals. And if they buy one, more than likely it's going to be 1 Dark Seal. The worst sellback option is I think that Riot wants to keep in the extra regen for buying double Dark Seal. But now the punishment is you get less AP and less sellback. So it inherently punishes you for stacking it. Okay. But thank God there's a nerf to this. This is a super big deal. Really big problem. WITS end. Attack speed, magic resist, cost increased. Now grants move speed, on hit damage, earlier, higher, later, no longer steals MR, but now heals on it. What? Okay, we're making WITS end more slot efficient for attack speed bruisers. They can now fill a gap where one will consider Maw, but can't do the overlap and passes with Stair's Gauge. It will be less of an early rush item now. It's a unique effect, scales better throughout the game. 10% more attack speed, 10 more magic resist, 500 more gold, so it's a more late game item. You get 5% move speed for God knows why. Your on hit damage goes 15 to 80, so it's not a good item to rush anymore. For God knows. Okay. 80 is a lot of damage late game. Heals for the amount of on hit damage dealt by WITS end. 33 effectiveness for range. Thank God they included that. It's a healing item. They can heal. Wait. It's a healing item that can heal for 80 and auto. Is that right? How much lifesteal would I need? Assuming I get a Bloodthirster or Bork to heal 80 damage and auto. I would need 2 lifesteal items, right? I need to know if this is pre or post resistance. Yeah, I don't know. I'm assuming it's post resistance because pre resistance sounds too insane. So we're just gonna go in with that idea. And if that's the case, it's not too bad. You can get you're probably only healing like 50, 40, and even less against MR stacking champions. It is supposed to be a second buy now. You're probably getting it second every game. So what I can see WITS turning into, well, one, first of all, I think healing is just a really strange concept to bring into attack speed items. I don't really know why Riot has a boner for healing with Conquer and Wits End. They're really looking to push healing, like healing without buying lifesteal items as a thing. And maybe it's just like, yeah, it's supposed to be another consideration instead of Ma. But I find it strange to add this much healing when I think it would have been a fine item without it. I think that now what's gonna happen is, and I could kind of see this. You're gonna be sitting on a Negatron or a Null and build out your normal attack speed stuff and go back for Wits End now. So if you're playing against a Rumble and you really need the MR, I could easily see like a cheap Negatron buy, and then you're going to buy like what, Trinity, or you're gonna buy your Bork, or you're gonna buy your Rage Blade, and you're gonna go back to buy Wits End on the second round. And then the second item finishes around level 11, level 11, 13. So it's no longer a rush item that you would buy nonstop. I don't know how effective this is going to be, to be honest. I find that them adding healing on top of this is going to be really nice. They're making a melee only item. Constantly nerfing new items to range is really interesting. I think that as a balance, from a balance perspective, that is a strong way to deal with problematic balance issues, and I'm happy that they're bringing stuff like that into the game. I have to see. I imagine that is a fairly strong secondary item, especially for melee-oriented champions. Immolate. Combat text for Immolate now displays how much damage each target has taken. People like big numbers. Alright, man. Okay, so this is, before we get into the item, this is runes, this is yada yada. Let's go look over champions and see anything that I would have liked changed. So I still think right now, let me think about the top champions in every meta. I'm surprised I didn't see a Hecarim nerf. I think he's disgusting right now in solo queue. Still pretty strong in pro play. Rek'Sai and Elise are targets that you kind of want to be looking at as well. I think both of those are really, really powerful. Maybe not slotted in for this patch, but something that Riot should definitely be looking on. I am super surprised to not see a Zoe nerf, because I think that champion is disgusting. Probably the best champion. What patch are we on? She was the best champion on 9-4 mid lane, and I think she's been the best champion for 3 patches now. So she's been really good. And maybe I know she's gotten nerfed, but like the nerfs weren't. The thing about Zoe is her problem is coming through her RNG on her W. Now being able to work around that is, I feel like they've been missing the mark on her for a long time. And what else? Oh, one of the interesting things with the Sylas nerf is that Cassidy is one of the few champions that tend to counterpick Sylas. I don't know if that I don't know what to expect for mid at the moment in terms of where it shifts to after this. But just something interesting to note. Let's go over to runes. I guess I'm just most surprised Zoe didn't get nerfed. Aside from that, I don't know too much about the other lanes, so I don't want to comment too much about them. Runes, eyeball collection. Max stacks decrease, total stats unchanged, kills and assists grant. Both one stack no longer stacks off words. Okay. Eyeball collection is 30 adaptive force from the crowd out ghost portal or zombie ward. Now grant the same adaptive force, so your choice is now how you want to stack these bonuses up, what kind of bonus you want. Eyeball collection is about killing people. Okay. So you don't get anything for ward kills, no for assists, you only get... Oh, it's a sister kill. Got it. No for ward kill. This is actually a really big deal. You used to get a lot from sweeping wards, and if you're a Duskblade user, A Ghost Portal. Your sword spawn a Ghost Portal and grants adaptive force when they expire. Gain extra adaptive force at full stacks. I'm crowning. Okay. Standing in bush. Your wards now spawn a Ghost Portal when they expire, giving vision in the area until it's cleared away by enemy champions. Wards killed by the enemies don't spawn Ghost Portals. Spawning Ghost Portal grants 2 adaptive force up to 10 times. At 10 Ghost Portal spawns, gain an additional 10 adaptive force. It doesn't disappear after death. Ghost Portal death. So just by using your wards, you automatically get adaptive force. And you have to use your wards. Ten wards gets you there. Wards killed by the enemy don't spawn Ghost Portals. That's fine. This will definitely be something that supports end up using. If they ever go down the red tree, which I don't think any support does except for maybe Bard. Let's keep going. Zombie Ward. No longer grants on-hit damage versus champions when clearing a ward. Wards not grant. Okay. Damage to a champion after clearing a ward no longer does bonus champions. Cool. Clearing a ward grants adaptive force up to 10. Okay. So Zombie Ward is the sweeping one. The Ghost Portal gives you a free ward when it expires, but you don't get a Ghost Portal if it doesn't. Okay. And Eyeball Collection is about killing people. Okay. Every champion in the game should take Ghost Portal. Before, and I think, let me put it this way. I think Ghost Portal was good before. I was just personally too lazy to use it. 100% it was the best option for multiple junglers. I think Ghost Portal is just way better. Like, it's better because you don't have to micromanage it. You're telling me if someone clears your ward, you don't get a Ghost Portal? Sure, who cares? Name the amount of times you've cleared wards. On my best case scenario, I buy a pink mid lane and I buy a sweep at level 7 to 9. I will have cleared 3 wards or 4 wards by level 9. That is the best case scenario. By level 9, how many wards will my opponent have been able to drop? They can drop 1 every, what, minute or 2? They'll at least get half 3 Ghost Portals. Extra vision on the map is so crucial. It gives you so much information. I think that everyone should use Ghost Portal because even without the extra adaptive force, the extra vision that you leave behind is worth a ton. Sure, the other 2 could be stacked faster, but the idea isn't like the way you win games won't be through that. It'll be through how much vision can I get, in my opinion. Especially in solo queue where it's not coordinated to sweep stuff, you just want as much extra vision as you can get. Ghost Portal is seeming to me like the best option right now, for sure. Yep, we'll use it every game. Cut down. Damage versus extremely high health targets increased. It was bad even after 9.5 buffs. Surprise! 5 to 15% damage. Only works if tanks are meta. No one plays tanks right now, but maybe after tank buffs, people will. At some point, cut down has to be good. We'll see if this is the point. 50% is quite a lot of damage. I think if tanks come back, you will see cut down if you're playing Bruiser versus tanks at some point. Yep. Demolish. Max health ratio increased. It was bad compared to all other minor runes. What? Was it? I think it's the best or second best rune on that tree every single time. I guess if you're going down the tree as a secondary, you always skip the first because the next 2 parts of the tree are too good. But I don't necessarily think that makes Demolish bad. It's a solid ass. You know what? This makes tank split pushing better in the late game. Sure. Overgrowth. Completion bonus grants more max health, making it better for people who actually build health items. Wow. 3.5% max health increase. Are they really starting to make tanks better? It's what it feels like. They're adding some stuff here. They're adding some stuff there. Buffing a few tanks, Garen, Mundo, doing overgrowth. I think they're really looking to be in a situation where tanks are feeling pretty good again. I think if it does come back to the tank-oriented meta, they're probably still gonna have to look at champions like Sion, who has been the most disgusting tank for a long time. But it's really interesting that they're deciding to buff overgrowth as well. I think Cho'Gath is going to be a really interesting champion with the amount of health that he can stack, and let's say demolish and overgrowth. Doesn't he gets a lot of value late game. Predator, look, a small usability improvement. The monster burn affected Hunter's Talent no longer upgrades Predator channel. Probably actually pretty nice. Ulti Hunter, ulti cooldown reduced. It was bad. Holy shit. I had so many people come into my chat and tell me, Scarra, dude, on Zed, I take Ulti Hunter every time because it's such a good rune. You have no idea how important Ulti Hunter is. It's so OP. And I'm just like, Ulti Hunter is a piece of garbage. There's a reason why everyone takes Ravenous Hunter even after the nerf, because it's broken and the extra thing will do way more for you. And now Riot has reaffirmed that I was indeed correct. It was bad. I think the only time you picked up Ulti Hunter in the current meta was if you're playing Karthus with Precision to try to get the lowest amount of Ulti possible. Which is still probably going to be true. For everyone else, Ulti Hunter was pretty much a complete bait. Pretty bad in all instances. 5% more, pretty good buff. I'll take it. Might be usable now. You can now destroy the enemy next to the cheat menu. Okay, I know. Now stack your tier to goddess. Okay, maybe that's nice. Back to Bilgewater. I don't really play ARAM that much. It's not a real big deal. Shop returns. Okay. Can't wait to be disappointed again. Upcoming skins. Dunkmaster Ivern. Wait, this is actually a 6 skin. Wait, this splash is so good. Who did this splash? Hextech Jarvan? Also cool. Very nice. Okay. So what did I think about the patch? They buffed a lot of tank items. The number one most important thing for this patch was the change into Dark Seal. This will affect the meta the most for sure. I think it puts a little bit more skill back in the game. When everyone has infinite resources, it really feels lame that you're not able to get larger leads against your opponent through actual raw skill. Aside from that, the big Lissandra nerf was really big for mid lane. And I appreciate the Kale nerf and the Urgot nerfs. Overall, pretty good patch. I would have liked to see more nerfs targeted toward maybe at Zoe, plus potentially looking at some of the problematic junglers. Something that they're definitely gonna have to be doing by next patch at the very least. And the sight thing here, I think they might have made Ghost Portal too strong. We'll try it out a lot tomorrow. Anyways, that's it.